All right, folks, let's run the speed test before we get started so we can make sure that there is sufficient connectivity that I can conduct the show without interruptions. Not on my end, at least, right? I'm not interrupting myself. As you can see, there are 736.87 Mbps. Let's run it again, just so we can see. All right? I'm not interrupting myself when I do these shows and I teach and I bring out evidence or have these discussions. I go back and I watch and I see that it's like, intermittent interruptions or either a period of time where people can't hear me. But as you can see, I ran the test twice and it's sufficient, more than enough to use to be able to complete this show without interruption. So let's get it started. All right, what are we talking about today? So I done told y'all to leave these doctors alone, or if you're not gonna do that, to be a fully informed patient, a part of your medical treatment plan, not messing around and playing. But y'all done messed around, didn't you? Okay. So you done messed around. See, now you got the good doc here. And he said there is no cure for your cognitive dissonance. Mm-hmm. There is no cure for your cognitive dissonance, is what the doctor said. All right. So we are going to be looking at, what is he talking about? Cognitive dissonance, huh? You hear that word, you see people using it as some type of buzzword, and you really don't understand what they're saying. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But you see right here, the doctor telling you, he done had it with y'all. There's no cure for your cognitive dissonance. Quit playing with these doctors. They're gonna tell you the truth one day, and this one done messed around and found out. Now he's gonna tell you. So what is he talking about? All right, let's see what he's talking about. This is by Tim, and you see it's at Psychology Today. And as you can see in the subheader, the sentence after, there is no cure for your cognitive dissonance. It clearly says progress. What progress? Right? Progress. What progress? Okay, let me change this because that's not right. I don't know what happened here with this. Okay, if I remove myself. All right. Anyway, we're just going to look at it from a different angle because I'm not going to play around with this StreamYard today. Here you see key points we're going to be talking about in this article. What is he talking about? We're experiencing cognitive dissonance when we try to reconcile the horrors of war and rapid advances in AI. Last week's AI Safety Summit, however, has shown us that humanity can rise to the challenge. We need new visions, but not those of the techno optimists. Uh-oh. Told y'all to leave these doctors alone. Metaphysics, Africa's rise, and communities offer compelling alternatives. And so here we're going to start reading through the article. We're living through a moment of dizzying contradiction. Our news feeds are saturated with images of the most horrific violence and suffering, doom scrolling through the worst of it. You'd be forgiven for wondering whether human progress is illusory. With ongoing wars in Europe and the Middle East, history can look like an endless cycle of barbarism and indifference. We may have built cities, written symphonies, and landed on the moon, but our recurring atrocities are so egregious that they just might dwarf the intermittent good. Here, let's see what else is in here. Keep scrolling, however, and you'll stumble upon an alternative narrative. What? What'd you say, Doc? Will stumble upon an alternative narrative, one that showcases humanity in a very different light. This story sees us come together in the face of common and unifying existential threat, the perils of unregulated AI. The recent International AI Safety Summit at Bletchley Park in the UK, where Alan Turing famously decrypted Nazi Germany's secret communications during World War II, was widely hailed as a success. Convening the key AI powers, including China, the summit kick-started worldwide collaboration to address AIs, producing a foundation for broader future cooperation. In this version of civilization's story, let's see, blah, blah, blah. In this version of civilization story, we look rational, peaceful, and prudent, able to put aside our differences to tackle common challenge together. Trying to keep apprised of these diametrically opposed narratives may feel like trying to look at two corners of a room simultaneously. Let me try that. I'm gonna see if I can do that. Yeah, no, and that's a little challenging to do. The barbarism of war at one end and the exponential advancement of technology at the other. The impotence of global diplomacy here, the possibility of global cooperation there, the cognitive dissonance, not to mention the migraines, can be extreme. The age of tech populism. Sound like the doctor is confronting his own cognitive dissonance. Huh? I guess, you know, when I gave you guys that information about when you go see the doctor, you have to be fully informed and consent to the treatment, right? Don't let them just study you without offering full information and you actively participating in any kind of survey or study, right? And having knowledge of that. I don't know if y'all's paying attention because sound like he's encountered a few people that have just finally made him say there's no cure for your cognitive dissonance. Okay. And so let's see what's going on here with the age of tech populism. In times of rapid progress, the best thinkers are often slow, circumspect, circumspect and reflective. They recognize the complexity of the situation. I don't like S's in the English language. Like, have you ever just sat there and thought about if you take all the sounds out, the S, what would the word say? Just, I tried that for one day. I said, you know what? I'm going to take all the S's out because I remember reading through old English and it looked like an F, like F for Frank, right? And it's a little confusing, but you know what? One day I practiced this. I took all of the S's out of the word. It was a challenging day, but I said, I'm going to say words without S's. And the language said a lot of things differently, spoke differently. Try it. And so they recognize the complexity of the situation they're dealing with. They have a nuanced understanding of competing interests and sense the scope of everything they don't know. They resist the arrogance of assessments and predictions and often refuse to give an opinion in the short term. When in 1972, Henry Kissinger asked Zhou Enlai about the impact of the French Revolution, the Chinese premier famously replied, "It's too early to tell." Or take note of Alan Turing's humility. The brilliant mathematician saw ingenuity as something frail and imperfect. If a machine is expected to be infallible, it cannot be intelligent, he's once said. All right. And if only today's AIs pioneers showed the same lack of ego. Instead, what we're witnessing is an AI revolution spearheaded by people who want to move forward with no holds barred, a group that sees any impediment to technology's ascendancy as unnatural and wrong and envisions a future where they can profit from their inventions without penalty or constraints. If y'all believe that AI is going to take over, I'm going to tell you, like my mom said, Yeah, AI gonna take over your jobs, but probably not you, but definitely your jobs. So, there's some wisdom right there from the elders. Ask them and they will tell you. Ask your parents and they will tell you, right? Meet the new techno optimists. The most vocal among them is arguably billionaire investor Mark Andreessen, who recent techno optimist manifesto. We talking about a techno optimist manifesto. Okay, y'all need to look that up. Because, see, I didn't bring that information with me today. But the Techno Optimist Manifesto lambasts the efforts of sustainability, social responsibility, tech ethics, and human rights, calling each a check on technology's advancement and thereby a threat to human progress. For him, the unrestricted development of technology is the only way forward. Sure sure to bring happiness and abundance to all. That sounds like utopian ideals. Y'all remember when George Orwell wrote about, maybe he wasn't living there during that time. I know I wasn't, but I've read about it and watched a little bit of its clips. Do you know George Orwell, who was somewhat of a journalism, journalist, critic, you know, talked about societal, political, and economic problems. And he wrote about opposite of a utopian ideal, dystopia. He also wrote Animal Farm, and all of kind of other things that he wrote about that you should look up. George Orwell. Okay. Anyway, and so sure to bring happiness and abundance to all. Ezra Klein, in a scathing New York Times column, calls Anderson's pseudo philosophy reactionary futurism. Then there's tech king Elon Musk. He called him a tech king. Hmm. Who keeps playing both sides of the game. He calls AI the greatest threat to humanity in one breath while introducing Grok, a dangerously flawed, sarcastic chatbot. The next. Yeah, sounds like they're in competition, huh? See who could take your jobs over quicker. And look, y'all think I haven't seen those memes about the Walmart self checking area? I saw them. Somebody had one yesterday. It said, waiting for Walmart to post the Christmas party for the self check employees. Okay, you might dismiss the ravings of these tech happy edge lords as adolescent fantasies, but that denies the uncomfortable fact that their predictions are becoming less fantastical by the day, and they have an advantage over those of us with nuanced concerns and questions about a transhuman future. Their message is as clear and confident as it's simple and simple minded. Did he call? Did the doc call them simple minded? Now you guys know I always say to stay away from the simpleton, the simple minded, because simple mindedness is a form of foolishness. If you didn't get that in this sentence, look up the word foolish and you'll see simple minded, right? And so I told you, and I'm going to tell you again, that wisdom is in direct opposition to foolishness. And wisdom, if you're wise, don't hang around simpletons and simple minded people. Simple minded people are dangerous, they get you in trouble. Okay, so this says their message is as clear and confident as it is simple and simple minded. You just call it foolish. Hmm, interesting. That's why word etymology is good. They are the new populists of our era. As policymakers, intellectuals, activists, and ethicists try to think slowly and carefully about the social, moral, and philosophical implications of what all of this means, the techno optimists are blazing ahead with blinders on. Interesting. Criticizing and regulating them won't be enough. We need alternative visions for the future that are more compelling than theirs. So here's a set of new narratives, metaphysics, Africa's rise, collective intelligence. I found it interesting how he put all of these things together. Specifically, one can look to three sources of imagination. First, a renewed, sorry, let me zoom in a little bit, a renewed interest in metaphysics instead of echoing the Silicon Valley tendency to hyper optimize everything. Organizations and their leaders have begun to, let's see, give me 1 second. Turn inward and upward from the inner development goals to trailblazers such as Amy Elizabeth Fox, the co founder of CEO of Mobius Executive Leadership, who helps Fortune 500 leaders and teams hone their spiritual intelligence. Wait a minute now. I done heard about emotional intelligence, regular intelligence, other forms of intelligence which they kind of consider like, aliens, right? Now they're honing in on their spiritual intelligence. Wow. Okay. Got to see what that is. But I saw that come in with all of this, like energy and space and vibes and forces. And we just got to feel. And y'all be over there playing with them stones and stuff and don't know what you're calling on yourself. And then wonder why you're good one day. And then the next day you be over there with your mind all cluttered. Right. And I'm not saying, everybody that do everything, because I don't use absolutes, or I try not to. Nothing and always and everything, those are absolutes, right? But I think some of y'all dabbling in stuff you don't know what you're doing. So that, don't be simple minded, right? A second way forward is to replace the dominant Western narrative with narratives emerging from Africa. Why do I always picking on Africa? Well, maybe he's not. Let's see. A continent whose impact on the future is growing fast. Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Africa's growth isn't only about its youthquake demographics. By 2050, every fourth person on the planet will be African. Y'all, you see how that got in this article? They didn't put the population decline and the lack of replacement population that the European nations, EU, are suffering from. Last time I heard, a baby wasn't born in Italy for 3 months. They done put it in the article, but in opposites. You see that the doctor did? Okay. That the youthquake, that by 2050, every fourth person on the planet will be African. Look it up. I saw those population increases steadily rising, and some of them quickly rising. And if you didn't know, that Yoruba has held the number one place as far as twin population in the world. And people have tried to study and figure out what is going on in Yoruba. What are they eating? What are they doing? What is different? Why is it that so many sets of twins come out of Yoruba? So you might want to go to the census, look at the world population, and it will clearly show you that European nations are in a decline that they cannot come back from as far as depopulation. The depopulation bomb has hit, and their replacement rates, their population has decreased beyond its replacement rates, while Africa's is rising and rising, some places quick, in some places at a steady pace. And so here's the prediction: by 2015, every fourth person on the planet will be African. But let's go back to the innovation that, you know, we're seeing, where he started out with. The second way forward is to replace the dominant Western narratives with narratives emerging from Africa. Okay. But also about its rising agenda setting power. Urbanist and futurist Gessi Karuri Savina proposes that we turn to the decolonizing narrative so that Africa's traditions of griots, Look up that word griots. Griots. Look it up. Folklore and speculation can offer guidance on shaping better futures. Haven't we been, guiding and educating this whole time? I mean, that's just an aside, but I'm just saying, right? But now that the population shift has taken place, we were paying more attention. Finally, one can look at the power of community and specifically to collective intelligence. Oh, now y'all want to say it take a village, huh? Yeah, we've been saying that for a long time. Collective, community. You try to take the unity out of community and want to do, America over here talking about independence, 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 and now where has independence got it? Nobody wants to join the military. Nobody wants to fight. People just are all independent. It's all about me. And we didn't teach this narcissism in our homes, but this country of America and other European nations for a long time fostered ideologies that led to narcissism. What happened to the self esteem movement? Look it up. What happened to the self esteem movement? Y'all got to do your research. I told you they researching you. See, the doctor used his research to come out with a report letting you know that your cognitive dissonance is incurable. Okay. Neuroscientist Hannah Critchlow argues that collective intelligence is evolving to trump individual intelligence. Well, that's great to know because that's what we've been saying the whole time. We've been saying take a village to raise a child. Okay. And so communities can provide the structure and means for collective intelligence to emerge, becoming a vital locus for new ideas, even though they sometimes have a difficult time describing the goals and dreams that unite them. They seem to exist less in the stuff they amount to and more in the absences they suggest. All right. In communities, we recognize political shortcomings. Yeah, I see that. Hmm. And I think that they're recognizing it even more because they see that people are no longer willing to just go along to get along, that the trenches have fought back and are going to continue to fight back in communities everywhere, including in Africa, right? And so what you're seeing is this emergence of new ideas by way of either insurrection, revolution, resurrection of mindsets or whatever in by any means necessary, because some of y'all, I'm not gonna say all of you, because like I said, I don't like talking in absolutes. Feel like you should die in your power, right? You're not trying to hand down to the next generation anything, and because it's a benefit to your lifestyle and your livelihood and your comfort levels, right? We can simply just look at US Congress and presidents and people that literally will stay there until their last breath. Okay. Look to the Supreme Court, right? And, how is that offering an opportunity for other ideals, intergenerational exchange of knowledge, wisdom, and power to take place? So, of course, you can only keep people down for so long and following lock and step with the status quo before they naturally start to rise against that kind of treatment and naturally start to do something else. So that's what you guys are seeing happening. Yeah. So I'm glad that that is, a recognition that communities do have the power, because that's what that's basically saying. In communities, we can recognize political shortcomings, failing systems, burning forward forests, widespread inequality. Yeah, we've been saying that. We've been saying that. Now you guys want to use it as a framework and a model. Okay. Instead of feeling defeated and overwhelmed, we can see in these gaps. This ain't, this like the academic gap, the achievement gap. That's the ocean. We've already voted as parents with our feet and started doing something different for our children, right? So, gaps, voids, and inefficiencies, the opportunity for rethinking and redesigning our future. There may be no immediate cure for our cognitive dissonance, but those discordant sounds can inform what we compose next. Okay. Now, I'm sure that they're talking about we as informed in the sense of people and a nation, right? The United States. This came out of the United States. Some of these people are, of course, experts in other countries because they mention the UK, they mention Europe, they mention Africa, they mention, the tech optimists, and all of the, people that are vying for power in the tech space. But literally, some of these things we've been saying for a long time. And so, an immediate or long term, future cure for cognitive dissonance, I don't know if that's going to happen because it's been like hundreds of years of stuff that has continued to go on. But I do think that the population decline and beyond replacement rates, and then the population increase that will make one in every four people African has got some people thinking differently now about their own cognitive dissonance. Just saying. So, thank you, Tim Leberick, the co-founder and CEO of Business Romantic Society, a firm that helps organizations and leaders make business more beautiful. I probably said at the beginning the good doc, but that was me being satirical. This is psychology today, so I just talk about psychology in the sense of a practice, right? A professional practice of psychologists and doctors, medical, practitioners, mental health practitioners. All right, so what is cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance is a term for the state of discomfort felt when two or more modes of thought contradict each other. The classing, ah, see, this is what I told y'all about these S's. I don't know. I'm gonna try to work it out. The clashing cognitions may include ideas, beliefs, or the knowledge that one has behaved in a certain way. So let me do that again. Cognitive dissonance is a term for the state of discomfort felt when two or more modes of thought contradict each other. The clashing cognitions may include ideas, beliefs, or the knowledge that one has behaved in a certain way. Okay. And in the theory, because this is psychology today, of cognitive dissonance proposes that people are averse to inconsistencies within their own minds. Yeah, sound like it. It offers one explanation for why people sometimes make an effort to adjust their thinking when their own thoughts, words, or behaviors seem to clash with each other. When one learns new information that challenges a deeply held belief, for example, or acts in a way that seems to undercut a favorable self image, that person may feel motivated to somehow resolve the negative feeling that results to restore cognitive. Oh, I don't know what to say. Cognitive something. I guess I cut it off, y'all. Sorry. All right, let's see what else it says. When one learns new information that challenges a deeply held belief, for example, or acts in a way that seems to, oh, here it is, to undercut a favorable self image, that person may feel motivated to somehow resolve the negative feelings that results to restore cognitive consonance. Though a person may not always resolve cognitive dissonance, the response to it may range from ignoring the source of it to changing one's beliefs or behavior to eliminate the conflict. What is cognitive dissonance? When someone tells a lie and feels uncomfortable about it because he fundamentally sees himself as an honest person, he may be experiencing cognitive dissonance. That means you lying, but you don't want to believe that you lying, even though you know you lying because you think you're an honest person. You see what I'm saying? And so you know how Grandpa and them used to say, if you tell one lie, you got to keep on telling lies. That's what you have going on here, right? And then ultimately people start to believe their own lies, and then they try to force other people to believe the lies that they believe because they believed the lie. The one lie they told made them tell a whole bunch of other lies. Well, essentially, that's me. That means you're a liar, right? Come on, like let's just call it what it is. I don't want to put fancy theoretical terms when in practice you're a liar. Okay, a pathological one at that. If you're constantly living a lie, speaking a lie, and pushing back the fact that you're living a lie and speaking a lie, you're a liar and a deceiver too. So these fancy terms crack me up sometimes. There is mental discord. There ought to be mental discord with your lying self. Don't be a liar. Just challenge yourself to tell the truth. And don't believe your own lies and don't be self deceived and don't get deceived by others. Birds of the feather flock together. So if you know that you're a let's call it compulsive liar, think about who's hanging around you. Because I'll tell you one thing, just like wisdom is in direct opposition to foolishness, right? Simple minded people don't like hanging around people that are wise too long. I will tell you that truthful and honest people probably ward off liars. Hmm. The truth tellers and truth seekers are not going to be able to hang with pathological and compulsive liars or people that don't want to see themselves as a liar. So there is a mental discord related to a contradiction between one thought in case knowing he did something wrong and another thinking that he is honest. Who created the concept of cognitive dissonance? Psychologist Leon Festinger published the book A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance in 1957. Among the examples he used to illustrate the theory were doomsday cult members and their explanations for why the world had not ended as they had anticipated. Many experiments have since been conducted to illustrate cognitive dissonance in more ordinary contexts. It's no, it's is cognitive dissonance the same as hypocrisy? They said no. What? Oh, I got to hear this. No. Hypocrisy involves a contradiction between a person's supposed principles, beliefs, or character and who they really are or how they behave. Cognitive dissonance is an unpleasant mental state that may result in someone's really some if someone really does have certain beliefs but thinks or acts in a way that contradicts them. Well, I guess I can deal with that definition. Let me know what you think, right? Like, do you think that cognitive dissonance is a form of lying or deceiving and a form of hypocrisy, or do you like this definition right here, right? I want to hear from you. How common is cognitive dissonance? It is not clear. While cognitive dissonance is often described as something widely and regularly experienced, efforts to capture it in studies don't always work. So it could be less common than has been assumed. People don't necessarily experience comfort in response to every apparent contradiction in their thoughts and beliefs. Okay, and so as you can see, let's see what happened. Oh, it cut off again. I don't know why it cut off. Anyway, what are some effects? So, something at the top, it says her favorite politician has done something immoral. She could conclude, this is an example, that the charges have been invented by his enemies or instead rethink her support, right? Which one would you do, right? If you find out that somebody that you really like or have supported has done something immoral, are you going to conclude that those accusations, or even if there's evidence, right? Because I don't think it's okay to just lightly go around accusing people with no evidence. Like if someone brings forth claims as far as something that happened and it's something immoral and they have evidence, are you going to automatically assume because you like them that that was something that was invented by their enemies? Or would you rethink your mentality and support? I mean, the truth, you got to let the truth speak, right? And evidence and proof and all of that stuff, bringing that stuff forward in a way that is irrefutable and unassailable doesn't mean that because you don't believe it, it's less true. It's going to be true whether you believe it or not. You'll just be deluded and deceived, right? Because you want to go with what you support. So, cognitive dissonance will affect you, and it may lead to the alteration. I'm not going to say us because I'm not, participating in this madness. To alter attitudes to be more consistent. Yeah, we've seen that over hundreds of years. You know, watching people alter attitudes based on false information, and when they find out the truth, they still don't want to believe it because it doesn't go along with their feelings of how they feel and what they support, right? Study participants who complete an uninteresting task have been found to rate the task as more enjoyable if they were first asked to tell someone else it was enjoyable. Hmm. An effect attributed to cognitive dissonance. Theoretically, dissonance may contribute to a variety of changes in beliefs or behaviors. And you know what? There it is right there. I read it backwards. So I was trying to, see why it was messing up at the end. So, how we deal with cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance poses a challenge. How can we resolve the uncomfortable feeling that arises when our own thoughts or actions clash with each other? Some responses may be more constructive than others. Well, I would respond with the truth. Believe the truth. Look at the evidence to prove, and if overwhelming, unassailable, irrefutable evidence exists, believe the truth. Don't go with your comfort levels because they can deceive you. That's feelings, right? Facts are not feelings all the time, right? And you got to be a critical and rational thinker. A man who learns that his eating habits raise his risk of illness feels the tension between his preferred behavior and the idea that he could be in danger. He might ease this feeling by telling himself that the health warning is exaggerated or more productively by deciding to take action to change his behavior. And then here we go to this one. If a woman reads that her favorite politician has done, so we went through this already, about, whether or not you're going to believe the truth or not, right? And then some of the effects of the truth and of the cognitive dissonance. And then here we have how to avoid it. There are a variety of ways people fought to resolve the sense of dissonance when cognitions don't seem to fit together. They might include denying or compartmentalizing unwelcome thoughts, seeking to explain away a thought that doesn't comport with others, or changing what one might believe or one's behavior. All right. And so, is cognitive dissonance a bad thing? This is where I disagree. Not necessarily. By bringing attention to the inconsistencies in our minds, cognitive dissonance may present an opportunity for growth. It will, if you're willing to self-evaluate. That's where I would like to agree, right? Well, so I do agree, right? Because it says not necessarily, right? But I don't want people approaching this not necessarily as if it's all good and to continue to in the behavior, right? Like, you have to be willing to self-evaluate and take assessments and check and see if you're in the truth. Okay. So feel people who feel it, sorry y'all, could realize, for example, that they need to update their beliefs. Yeah, believe the truth at all costs and at all times, right? In that they need to update their beliefs to reflect the truth or change their behavior to better match the person that they want to be. No, y'all need to be in the truth, and that's who you need to be, right? So I'm going to add to psychology today and let you know, be in the truth, stay in the truth, critically think, research. If you didn't know this information, search, then research, inquire. Make sure you check facts. Make sure you check cross credible sources of information. That means you have to go in and be and you know how they be over there excavating and looking underground and getting all these so-called ancient relics and stuff. That's how you need to be fact finding, right? The archaeologist, you need to be a truth archaeologist, okay? And get to the bottom of what is and what is not, and know that checking word etymologies is important because words have meanings that change with usage over time. You can get the etymology online, look it up. When you hear something, know what is being said to you. And again, because this is coming out of psychology today, I want to remind you to be fully informed when you sit in front of your doctor. Don't let the doctor tell you what they're going to do. You have a right to partake in the decision making of your own medical treatment plan. Okay. You don't have to allow people to just give you one opinion and not ask for another and then go off of that one opinion, right? You need to ask the doctor where his medical or her medical expertise came from that warrants anything that is being said to you, and be willing to do that. Be willing to do that, and don't be afraid to do it. And don't be afraid to do it. And so you have been watching. Let me know what y'all think about this. There is no cure for your cognitive dissonance that we read here today. I definitely want to hear from you and see what it is that your thoughts are. As you can see, here is the article. If you want to go look it up in Psychology Today, it was posted on November 13th, 2023. And this is an interesting take on what is happening in our mindsets in how to move forward in the future and all of the things that we just talked about. And so this has been Intel Drop. Let me know your thoughts about what you saw here and listened to today.